Welcome, everyone. Today, we embark on a journey to explore one of the most profound questions humanity has ever pondered. Are we alone in the universe? For millennia, we've gazed up at the night sky, speckled with countless stars, and wondered if somewhere amongst those celestial diamonds, another civilization exists. Another form of life, perhaps looking back at us with the same sense of wonder. The sheer scale of the cosmos makes this question almost impossible to ignore. Think about it. Our home, Earth, is a tiny planet orbiting an average-sized star. The Sun itself is just one of hundreds of billions of stars within our galaxy, the Milky Way. And the Milky Way. It's just one galaxy among trillions, perhaps even an infinite number, scattered across the observable universe. To truly grasp the immensity we're dealing with, let's try to put it into perspective. Imagine shrinking the sun down to the size of a grain of sand. On that scale, Earth would be an almost invisible speck orbiting that grain. Now, imagine filling a beach with countless grains of sand, each representing a star. That beach is still just a tiny fraction of the Milky Way galaxy. Now imagine an unfathomably large desert filled with those beaches. That's getting closer to illustrating the observable universe and the number of stars contained within. It's a number so vast, it's beyond human comprehension, a figure that dwarfs anything we can experience in our daily lives. Each of those stars is a potential sun, a potential source of light and energy for orbiting planets. Planets that might, just might, be capable of supporting life. And what a concept that is. Life beyond Earth. It's a staple of science fiction, filling our books, movies, and television screens with imaginative portrayals of alien civilizations. But the question of extraterrestrial life is not just confined to the realm of fiction. It's a legitimate scientific inquiry, a field of study known as astrobiology. Astrobiology seeks to understand the origin, evolution, distribution, and future of life in the universe. It brings together experts from a wide range of disciplines, including biology, chemistry, physics, astronomy, and geology. These scientists are working to unravel the mysteries of life's origins on Earth and to determine the conditions necessary for life to exist elsewhere. But what exactly are we looking for? What does it mean for a planet to be habitable? Are the essential ingredients for life as we know it? And, perhaps more importantly, could life exist in forms we haven't even imagined yet? These are complex questions with no easy answers. Our current understanding of life is based solely on what we know from Earth. All life on our planet shares a common ancestor and relies on the same fundamental building blocks: carbon-based molecules, liquid water, and a source of energy. But is this the only way? Is carbon the only element capable of forming the complex molecules necessary for life? Is water the only solvent that can support biological processes? Could life exist in environments that are drastically different from those found on Earth? Perhaps in extreme temperatures, pressures, or with different chemical compositions. These are the questions that drive astrobiological research. Scientists are exploring extreme environments on Earth, like deep-sea hydrothermal vents and acidic, volcanic lakes, to understand the limits of life as we know it. They are also studying the atmospheres and surfaces of other planets and moons in our solar system, searching for signs of past or present habitability. And the search extends far beyond our solar system. With the advent of powerful telescopes, we are now able to detect planets orbiting distant stars, known as exoplanets. Thousands of exoplanets have already been discovered, and the number is growing rapidly. These discoveries are revolutionizing our understanding of planetary systems and significantly increasing the chances of finding a habitable world. But finding a habitable planet is only the first step. We also need to determine whether life actually exists on that planet. This is a much more challenging task. Scientists are developing techniques to analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets, searching for biosignatures, chemical compounds that could indicate the presence of life. The detection of a biosignature would be a monumental discovery, providing the first concrete evidence that we are not alone. It would have profound implications for our understanding of the universe and our place within it. But even without direct evidence of life, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SET, continues. SETI projects use radio telescopes to scan the skies for artificial signals, messages that could have been intentionally transmitted by another civilization. The chances of success are difficult to estimate. We don't know how common intelligent life is in the universe, or how likely it is that an alien civilization would attempt to communicate with us. But the potential reward is so great that the search is worth pursuing. The question of whether we are alone is not just a scientific one. It also has deep philosophical and existential implications. If we were to discover that life is common in the universe, it would fundamentally change our perspective on ourselves and our place in the cosmos. It would raise profound questions about the nature of consciousness, the meaning of life, and the future of humanity. On the other hand, if we were to conclude that Earth is truly unique, a rare oasis of life in a vast and barren universe, it would place an even greater responsibility on our shoulders. It would mean that we are the custodians of life in the universe, and that we must do everything we can to protect and preserve it. So, as we delve deeper into this exploration, let's keep an open mind and a sense of wonder. The search for extraterrestrial life is a journey into the unknown, a quest to answer one of the most fundamental questions of our existence. Are we truly alone? The universe is vast, and the possibilities are endless. Perhaps somewhere out there, another civilization is asking the same question, looking up at the stars and wondering if anyone is looking back. The answer, whatever it may be, awaits us. Music fades slightly. Ready to transition to the next section, all right. Let's dive into the very core of our inquiry. How did life, as we know it, spring forth from the seemingly lifeless abyss of primordial Earth? This, my friends, is the realm of abiogenesis, the study of how life arose from non-living matter. It's a field brimming with tantalizing theories, complex chemistry, and a healthy dose of educated guesswork. Now, before we proceed, it's crucial to understand that abiogenesis is not the same as evolution. Evolution describes how life changes and diversifies after it exists. Abiogenesis deals with a much earlier and frankly more mysterious event of life's initial creation. Think of it this way: evolution is the story of the tree, while abiogenesis is the story of the seed. So, what were the conditions like on early Earth, the backdrop against which this incredible transformation occurred? Vastly different from the one we inhabit today. A young Earth, roughly 4 billion years ago, was a tumultuous place. Volcanic activity was rampant, asteroid impacts were frequent, and the atmosphere was likely a toxic mix of gases like methane, ammonia, and water vapor, a far cry from the oxygen-rich air we breathe. One of the prevailing theories for abiogenesis centers around what's known as the primordial soup. This idea, popularized by scientists like Alexander Oparin and J.B. Haldane, proposes that early Earth's oceans were a rich broth of organic molecules, amino acids, nucleotides, sugars, and lipids, all formed from inorganic compounds. Through various energy sources like lightning, ultraviolet radiation, and volcanic activity, think of it as a cosmic kitchen, where the ingredients for life were slowly being simmered under the right conditions. But simply having the ingredients isn't enough. You need a chef, a recipe, and a way to put it all together. In this case, the chef was the Earth itself, and the recipe was the complex chemical reactions that would ultimately lead to self-replicating. Molest, ULES, a pivotal experiment that lent credence to the primordial soup theory, was the Miller-Urey experiment. Conducted in 1952, Stanley Miller and Harold Urey recreated the conditions of early Earth in a laboratory setting. They mixed water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen in a closed system, and then zapped it with electrical sparks to simulate lightning. After just a week, they found that several amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, had formed spontaneously. This experiment was groundbreaking because it demonstrated that organic molecules could indeed arise from inorganic matter under plausible early Earth conditions. It wasn't quite creating life in a test tube, but it was a significant step forward in understanding the process. However, the primordial soup theory isn't without its challenges. One major hurdle is the problem of concentration. How could these organic molecules, scattered sparsely throughout the vast oceans, come together in sufficient concentrations to form more complex structures? This is where another fascinating theory comes into play: hydrothermal vents. These underwater vents, found in volcanically active regions of the ocean floor, spew out hot, mineral-rich water from the Earth's interior. These vents provide a concentrated source of energy and chemicals, creating a unique environment where organic molecules could potentially form and interact. Some scientists believe that life may have originated in these hydrothermal vents. Shielded from the harsh conditions on the surface of early Earth, the minerals present in the vents could have acted as catalysts, speeding up the chemical reactions necessary for life to emerge. Furthermore, the compartmentalized structure of the vents could have provided the necessary concentration and isolation for these reactions to occur. Another compelling theory focuses on the role of RNA, or ribonucleic acid. RNA is similar to DNA, but it's simpler in structure and has the ability to act as both a carrier of genetic information and a catalyst for chemical reactions. This dual role makes RNA a prime candidate for the first self-replicating molecule. The RNA world hypothesis suggests that early life was based on RNA rather than DNA. RNA molecules could have spontaneously formed in the primordial soup or near hydrothermal vents and then begun to self-replicate, using the surrounding organic molecules as building blocks. Over time, these RNA molecules could have evolved the ability to synthesize proteins and eventually transitioned to a DNA-based system. Now, let's talk about the crucial element of chirality. Chirality refers to the handedness of molecules. Just like your left and right hands, some molecules can exist in two mirror image forms, known as enantiomers. For example, amino acids can be either left-handed L-amino acids or right-handed D-amino acids. Interestingly, life on Earth is almost exclusively based on L-amino acids and D sugars. Why this preference for one-handedness over the other? This is a major mystery in abiogenesis research. How did this homochirality, this preference for a single-handedness, arise? Several hypotheses have been proposed, including the influence of circularly polarized light from space, the selective adsorption of molecules onto mineral surfaces, and even random chance amplified by self-replication. The exact mechanism remains a subject of intense debate. But understanding the origin of homochirality is crucial for understanding how life could have emerged from non-living matter. Of course, no discussion of abiogenesis would be complete without mentioning the crucial role of lipids. Lipids are fatty molecules that form the membranes of cells, providing a barrier between the inside and outside environments. These membranes are essential for compartmentalization, allowing complex chemical reactions to occur within a defined space. Experiments have shown that lipids can spontaneously form spherical structures called vesicles in water. These vesicles can encapsulate other molecules, creating a primitive version of a cell. It's conceivable that the first protocells, the precursors to modern cells, were simply vesicles containing self-replicating RNA molecules and the necessary enzymes to carry out basic metabolic processes. Ultimately, the origin of life is a complex and multifaceted problem, and there's no single, universally accepted theory. It's likely that multiple factors played a role, and that the process occurred in a series of steps, each building upon the previous one. We may never know exactly how life arose on Earth, but ongoing research in fields like chemistry, biology, and geology is gradually piecing together the puzzle. And as we continue to explore our own planet and search for life elsewhere in the universe, we may one day find the missing pieces that will finally unlock the secrets of abiogenesis, revealing the answer to one of the most profound questions in science. How did life begin? It's a quest that speaks to our fundamental curiosity about the world around us and our place within it. A quest that promises to continue captivating scientists and thinkers for generations to come. All right, let's dive into a fundamental question. What is life, anyway? It sounds simple, but pinning down a universally accepted definition is surprisingly tricky. We intuitively know what living things are: plants, animals, bacteria. They all seem pretty self-evident. But when we start thinking about life beyond Earth, relying on our terrestrial biases can really limit us. The definition of life we use dictates what we're searching for. If we're too narrow, we might miss something truly unique simply because it doesn't fit our preconceived notions. We need a definition that's broad enough to encompass potentially alien forms of life, while still being specific enough to exclude non-living things. It's a delicate balancing act. One of the most common and classic definitions describes life as something that exhibits these characteristics: organization, reproduction, growth, response to stimuli, and adaptation. Let's break these down. Organization refers to the structured arrangement of components, from the molecular level up to complex organ systems. Living things aren't just random collections of atoms. They're highly organized. This could mean cells, tissues, or even simpler structures, depending on the scale of life we're considering. Metabolism encompasses all the chemical processes that occur within a living organism to maintain life. This includes acquiring energy, processing nutrients, and eliminating waste. Metabolism is the engine that drives life, providing the energy and building blocks needed for growth, repair, and reproduction. Think of it as the constant chemical dance that keeps everything running. Reproduction is the ability to create more of one's own kind, whether through sexual or asexual means. It's how life perpetuates itself and passes on genetic information to future generations. Without reproduction, life would simply cease to exist. Growth is an increase in size or complexity over time. This could involve cell division, the accumulation of materials, or the development of new structures. Growth is a visible manifestation of the metabolic processes that are constantly occurring within a living organism. Response to stimuli is the ability to detect and react to changes in the environment. This could involve moving towards a food source, avoiding a predator, or adjusting to changes in temperature or light. This responsiveness allows living things to interact with their surroundings and maintain a stable internal environment, known as homeostasis, and finally, adaptation. This is the capacity to evolve over time in response to environmental pressures. Through natural selection, populations of living things can gradually change their characteristics to become better suited to their environment. Adaptation is what allows life to diversify and thrive in a wide range of conditions. Now, this definition works pretty well for life as we know it on Earth. But what about life that might be fundamentally different? What if life exists that doesn't rely on water as a solvent or DNA as its genetic material? What if it doesn't even replicate in the way we understand it? That's where things get interesting. We need to consider alternative biochemistries. Here on Earth, life is carbon-based. Carbon's unique ability to form stable bonds with itself and other elements makes it ideally suited to build the complex molecules needed for life. But could there be other elements that could serve a similar role? Silicon, for example, is chemically similar to carbon and could potentially form long-chain molecules. The problem is that silicon bonds are generally less stable than carbon bonds, especially in the presence of water. But in an environment without water, silicon-based life might be a possibility. Then there's the question of solvents. Water is essential for life as we know it, because it's an excellent solvent, meaning it can dissolve a wide range of substances, facilitating chemical reactions. But other liquids could potentially serve as solvents, too. Ammonia, for example, is a polar solvent like water, and it remains liquid at much lower temperatures. Methane and ethane are also possibilities, although they are non-polar solvents, which would limit the types of chemical reactions that could occur. And what about genetic material? DNA and RNA are the information storage molecules for all known life on Earth. But could there be other molecules that could serve a similar function? Perhaps something simpler, or something entirely different that we haven't even imagined yet. One intriguing possibility is that we tend to think of life as being cellular, with each cell containing its own set of instructions and carrying out its own functions. But what if life could exist as a continuous, interconnected network, like a giant, planetary-scale organism? We might even encounter life that doesn't neatly fit into our categories of living and non-living. Imagine a self-replicating crystal structure that slowly grows and spreads, consuming resources from its environment. Is it alive? It exhibits some of the characteristics of life, but it's also fundamentally different from anything we've ever seen. Ultimately, defining life is an ongoing process, constantly evolving as we learn more about the universe and the possibilities it holds. We need to be open to the idea that life elsewhere might be very different from life on Earth. And we need to develop new ways of thinking about what it means to be alive. The search for extraterrestrial life is not just about finding something that looks like us. It's about expanding our understanding of the universe and our place within it. It's about pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and challenging our assumptions about what is possible. By adopting a broad and flexible definition of life, we increase our chances of recognizing something truly extraordinary when we finally encounter it. The universe is a vast and wondrous place, and the possibilities for life are as limitless as our imaginations. All right, let's turn our gaze upwards, away from the Earth for a moment, and out into the vast expanse of space. Because understanding where life could exist starts with understanding where it can exist. And that brings us to the concept of the habitable zone, sometimes called the Goldilocks zone. The habitable zone is the region around a star where conditions might be just right, not too hot. The surface of a planet. Now, why is liquid water so important? Well, as far as we know, it's absolutely fundamental for life. Think about it. Life as we know it is carbon-based and water-dependent. Water acts as a solvent, allowing organic molecules to interact and form complex structures like proteins and DNA. It facilitates chemical reactions, transports nutrients, and regulates temperature. It's the very cradle of life on Earth, and so far, it's the best bet we have for where to look for life elsewhere. Now, the location of the habitable zone isn't fixed. It depends entirely on the size and temperature of the star. Hotter, more massive stars, like those of spectral type O, B, or A, emit more energy and therefore have habitable zones that are farther away from the star. These zones are also wider, but there's a catch. These massive stars burn through their fuel much faster than smaller stars, living only for a few million years. That might not be enough time for life to evolve, even if a planet finds itself in the right spot. On the other hand, cooler, less massive stars, like red dwarfs, M-type stars, have habitable zones that are much closer and narrower. This proximity presents its own set of challenges. Planets orbiting red dwarfs are often tidally locked, meaning one side always faces the star, and the other side is perpetually in darkness. This can lead to extreme temperature differences between the two hemispheres, potentially making the planet uninhabitable. Also, red dwarfs are known for their intense flares, sudden bursts of energy that can strip away a planet's atmosphere and bathe its surface in harmful radiation. While some scientists believe that life could still potentially exist on planets orbiting red dwarfs, shielded by a thick atmosphere or even subsurface oceans, these factors certainly make it a more difficult proposition. Our own Sun, a G-type star, falls somewhere in the middle. Its habitable zone extends roughly from the orbit of Venus to the orbit of Mars. Earth, of course, sits comfortably within this zone, bathed in the right amount of sunlight to maintain liquid water on its surface. Mars, on the other hand, is right on the outer edge. While it's too cold and dry to have widespread liquid water today, there's plenty of evidence that it was warmer and wetter in the past, with rivers, lakes, and even oceans covering its surface. It's entirely possible that life could have evolved on Mars billions of years ago, when conditions were more favorable. We're actively searching for evidence of this past life through missions like the Perseverance rover. Venus, on the inner edge of the Sun's habitable zone, presents a very different picture. While it may have once had liquid water on its surface, a runaway greenhouse effect has turned it into a hellish world, with scorching temperatures and a thick, toxic atmosphere. Venus serves as a cautionary tale about the delicate balance required to maintain habitability. But what about planets outside our solar system? The search for exoplanets, planets orbiting other stars, has revolutionized our understanding. of planetary systems and expanded our horizons in the search for life. Thanks to missions like Kepler and TESS, we've discovered thousands of exoplanets, many of which reside within their star's habitable zone. These discoveries have given us a much better sense of how common potentially habitable planets might be. Some estimates suggest that there could be billions of Earth-sized planets in the habitable zones of stars in our galaxy alone. Now, just because a planet is in a habitable zone doesn't automatically mean it's habitable. There are many other factors that come into play. The planet's size, mass, atmospheric composition, geological activity, and the presence of a magnetic field all play a role in determining whether it can support life. A planet needs to be massive, enough to hold on to its atmosphere, but not so massive that it becomes a gas giant like Jupiter or Saturn. It needs an atmosphere to regulate temperature and protect it from harmful radiation. But the atmosphere can't be too thick, or it will lead to a runaway greenhouse effect like we see on Venus' dot plate tectonics. The movement of the Earth's crust can also be important. It helps to regulate the planet's temperature and recycle essential nutrients. A magnetic field can shield a planet from harmful solar winds, preventing the atmosphere from being stripped away. And of course, there's the question of liquid water. While we can infer the presence of liquid water based on a planet's temperature and distance from its star, it's much harder to directly detect it. In some cases, we can analyze the planet's atmosphere to look for signs of water vapor. But this is a challenging task, especially for smaller, rocky planets. Despite these challenges, scientists are making progress in characterizing exoplanets and assessing their habitability. We're developing new techniques to analyze exoplanet atmospheres, looking for biosignatures, chemical signs of life, such as oxygen, methane, or phosphine. The James Webb Space Telescope, with its unprecedented ability to observe infrared light, is playing a crucial role in this search. The concept of the habitable zone is a useful starting point in our search for life beyond Earth. But it's important to remember that it's just one piece of the puzzle. There are many other factors that can influence a planet's habitability, and life may even be able to exist in environments that we wouldn't consider habitable based on Earth standards. We'll explore some of those possibilities in the next section. But for now, let's appreciate the delicate balance that allows life to flourish here on Earth, and continue to search for other worlds where that balance might also exist. All right, buckle up, because we're about to dive into some seriously mind-bending stuff. We've spent some time talking about liquid water and the Goldilocks zone, that sweet spot where planets are just the right distance from their star to maintain liquid water on their surface. It's a nice, neat, familiar framework. But what if that framework is limiting? What if life, in its infinite and utterly alien possibilities, doesn't need water? That's the question that gets astrobiologists really excited. And it's what we're exploring now: alternative biochemistries and solvents. The core idea here is that water, while abundant and possessing some fantastic properties, think of a solvent as a medium, a liquid in which other substances can dissolve and interact. It's the cosmic soup where the magic of biochemistry happens. Let's zoom in on why water is so good at its job, so we can then contrast it with other options. Water, or H2O, is a polar molecule. This means it has a slightly positive charge on one side, the hydrogen side, and a slightly negative charge on the other, the oxygen side. This polarity allows water to dissolve a wide range of substances, especially ionic compounds like salts. It's also crucial for forming hydrogen bonds, which are relatively weak but incredibly important for stabilizing the structures of proteins and DNA, the building blocks of life as we know it. Water also has a high heat capacity, meaning it can absorb a lot of heat without drastically changing its temperature. This helps regulate temperature and provides a stable environment for life. Okay, water's awesome. We get it. But the universe is a vast and varied place. And there are plenty of other liquids out there, each with its own unique properties. So, let's venture beyond the familiar and explore some potential alternatives. First up, ammonia. Ammonia, or NH3, is similar to water in that it's also a polar molecule. It can form hydrogen bonds, although weaker ones than water. The big advantage of ammonia is that it remains liquid at much lower temperatures than water. This makes it a potential solvent on planets much farther from their star, in the frigid outer reaches of a solar system. Imagine a world where the oceans are made of liquid ammonia, teeming with organisms adapted to these incredibly cold conditions. The reactions would be slower. The organisms would likely be different, but life might still be possible. One challenge for ammonia-based life is that ammonia is less effective at dissolving organic molecules compared to water. This could limit the complexity of biochemical reactions that can occur. Next, let's consider methane and ethane, both hydrocarbons. These are the primary components of natural gas, and they exist as liquids at extremely low temperatures. Chiton, Saturn's largest moon, is a prime example of a world with liquid methane and ethane on its surface. Titan has lakes and rivers of these hydrocarbons and even a nitrogen-rich atmosphere, while methane and ethane are non-polar, which limits their ability to dissolve many substances. They could potentially act as solvents for different types of organic molecules. The biochemistry in a methane-based world would likely be radically different from anything we've ever seen. Instead of proteins and DNA, life might rely on different types of polymers assembled from molecules that are soluble in liquid hydrocarbons. This is where things get really speculative, but also incredibly exciting. The biggest challenge here is that these solvents aren't very reactive, limiting the range of chemical reactions that can occur. Another possibility is hydrogen fluoride, or HF. This is a highly corrosive and toxic substance to us, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be a viable solvent for life under different conditions. Hydrogen fluoride is even more polar than water, and it can form very strong hydrogen bonds. This could potentially lead to the formation of very stable and complex molecules. However, its high reactivity also presents a challenge, as it could potentially break down many organic molecules. Then there's sulfuric acid. Yes, the stuff that can dissolve metal. On Venus, the clouds are filled with sulfuric acid droplets. Now, it sounds crazy, but some scientists have speculated that life could potentially exist in these clouds, utilizing sulfuric acid as a solvent. Such life would have to be incredibly resilient and possess unique biochemical adaptations to survive in such an extreme environment. Think about it. It's an energy-rich environment with plenty of available elements. Glycerol, quidus, a thick, syrupy liquid, could also be a potential alternative solvent. Liquid range, and it's able to dissolve a variety of organic molecules. It's also less reactive than some other solvents, like hydrogen fluoride. Now, let's address a common misconception: the idea that life based on alternative biochemistries would be somehow less advanced or less complex than life as we know it. That's simply not true. Complexity is relative. An ammonia-based organism, perfectly adapted to its frigid environment, could be just as intricate and sophisticated as a water-based organism on Earth. It would just be different. The implications of alternative biochemistries are profound. If life can exist in a wider range of environments and utilize different solvents, then the number of potentially habitable planets in the universe increases dramatically. We are no longer limited to the Goldilocks zone and the presence of liquid water. We can start considering planets orbiting different types of stars, planets with different atmospheric compositions, and even planets that are tidally locked to their star, with one side perpetually facing the star and the other side perpetually in darkness. The search for extraterrestrial life is expanding, driven by new discoveries and theoretical advances. Instead of exclusively searching for Earth-like planets, we're now considering a much broader range of possibilities. We're looking for biosignatures, indicators of life that might be unique to alternative biochemistries, such as unusual atmospheric compositions or the presence of specific organic molecules. Methane seas on Titan, sulfuric acid clouds. On Venus, ammonia, oceans on some distant exoplanet. These are not just science fiction scenarios. They are real possibilities that we need to consider as we continue our quest to answer the age-old question, are we alone? Expanding our definition of habitability and embracing the potential for life beyond water is crucial to unlocking the secrets of the universe and discovering the diverse and fascinating forms that life might take. It's time to think outside the water-based box. All right. So we've established that the universe is unimaginably vast, and we've touched upon the potential for life to exist in forms we might not even recognize. But how can we even begin to estimate the likelihood of intelligent, communicative life existing elsewhere? That's where the Drake equation comes in, formulated by Dr. Frank Drake in 1961. The Drake equation isn't so much an equation as it is a framework, a way to organize our thinking about the factors that contribute to the probability of finding other intelligent civilizations in our galaxy. The Milky Way. It's essentially a series of educated guesses multiplied together to arrive at an estimate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Educated guesses. That doesn't sound very scientific. And you're partially right. The Drake equation is highly speculative, and the values we assign to each factor are largely based on our current, limited understanding of the universe. However, it serves as a valuable tool for stimulating discussion and highlighting the areas where we need more research. So, what exactly is this equation? Well, here it is. N equals RFP, Ni FL, Phi FC, asterisk L. Let's break down each of these factors one by one. First, we have asterisks, which represents the average rate of star formation in our galaxy. This is probably the most well-constrained factor in the equation. Astronomers can estimate the rate at which new stars are born in the Milky Way based on observations of star-forming regions. Current estimates suggest that roughly 1 to 10 new stars are born in our galaxy each year. So, let's say, for the sake of argument, we'll use a value of 7. Next is FP, the fraction of those stars that have planetary systems. Thanks to decades of exoplanet research, particularly from missions like the Kepler Space Telescope, we now know that planetary systems are incredibly common. In fact, most stars likely have planets orbiting them. Estimates for FP range from 0.2 to nearly 1, with many scientists believing that the true value is closer to 1. Let's be optimistic and use a value of 0.8. That means 80% of stars have planets, then we have the average number of planets per star that are potentially suitable for life. This is where things start to get trickier. What constitutes suitable for life? Well, typically, we're talking about planets that reside within the habitable zone of their star, the region where liquid water could exist on the surface. However, as we've discussed, life might be able to exist in environments beyond the traditional habitable zone, like subsurface oceans. Estimates for vary widely, from less than 0.1 to more than 2. Let's go with a conservative estimate of 0.4. Now comes FL, the fraction of those suitable planets on which life actually appears. Entire equation. We simply don't know how likely it is for life to arise from non-living matter. Is it a common occurrence, or is it an incredibly rare fluke? Some scientists believe that if the conditions are right, life will inevitably emerge. Others argue that the origin of life is an extremely improbable event. Estimates for FL range from virtually 0 to 1, given our complete lack of data. Let's cautiously assign a value of 0.1. Then we have phi, the fraction of those planets with life that goes on to develop intelligent life. Even if life arises, there's no guarantee that it will evolve into complex, intelligent organisms. On Earth, it took billions of years for intelligent life to emerge. Perhaps there are evolutionary bottlenecks or other factors that make the development of intelligence a rare occurrence. Estimates for phi range from extremely low to relatively high, depending on your assumptions about the inevitability of intelligence. We're going to stay conservative and use 0.01. Next is FC, the fraction of intelligent civilizations that develop technology capable of interstellar communication. Intelligence alone isn't enough. A civilization needs to develop the technology to send and receive signals across interstellar distances. This could involve radio waves, lasers, or some other form of communication we haven't even conceived of yet. Furthermore, they need to want to communicate. Perhaps some intelligent species are simply not interested in contacting other civilizations. Estimates for FC vary widely, depending on your views about technological development and societal priorities. Let's assume a value of 0.1 for this factor. Finally, we have L, the average length of time such civilizations release detectable signals into space. This is another huge unknown. How long does a civilization remain technologically advanced and actively broadcasting its presence? Do they eventually destroy themselves through warfare or environmental degradation? Do they transcend technology and move beyond the need for communication? Or do they simply lose interest in broadcasting after a certain period? estimates for L range from a few decades to millions of years. This factor is incredibly important because it determines the probability of us actually detecting a signal from another civilization. If civilizations are short-lived, the chances of two civilizations existing at the same time and being able to communicate are greatly reduced. Let's pick a value of 10,000 years. Now, let's plug these values into the Drake equation. N equals 7, 0.8, 0.4, asterisk, 0.1, asterisk, 0.1, asterisk, 10,000, N equals 2.24, based on these estimates. The Drake equation suggests that there might be roughly 2.24 intelligent, communicative civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy at any given time. Now, of course, this is just a rough estimate, and the actual number could be much higher or much lower. If we were more optimistic with some of our variables, we could easily arrive at a much larger number. Conversely, if we were more pessimistic, we could get a value close to 0. The real value of the Drake equation isn't necessarily the number it produces, but rather the framework it provides for thinking about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It forces us to consider the various factors that contribute to the probability of finding other civilizations and highlights the areas where we need more research. It underscores just how many unknowns there are and just how much more we need to learn about the universe and our place within it. It's a humbling reminder that the search for alien life is a complex and challenging endeavor, but one that is ultimately worth pursuing. Even if we never find another civilization, the quest itself will undoubtedly lead to profound discoveries about ourselves and the universe we inhabit. The Drake equation provides a map of the unknown, highlighting areas where new scientific insights can drastically change our perspective and ultimately our estimation. All right, let's tackle one of the biggest head-scratchers in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the Fermi Paradox. This isn't some obscure scientific theory cooked up in a lab. It's a fundamental question that anyone who's ever looked up at the night sky and wondered, "Are we alone?" has probably pondered in some form. The paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, essentially asks, given the vastness and age of the universe, why haven't we detected any signs of alien civilizations? It's a simple question, but the implications are profound. To truly appreciate the weight of the Fermi paradox, we need to unpack the assumptions that underpin it. First, consider the scale of the universe. We're talking about billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars. Many of these stars are likely to have planets orbiting them, and some of those planets are bound to be in the habitable zone, that Goldilocks region where temperatures are just right for liquid water to exist on the surface. Remember, liquid water, as far as we know, is essential for life. Now, factor in time. The universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old. Our own solar system is about 4.5 billion years old. And complex life has only been around on Earth for a relatively short period. That means there's been plenty of time for other civilizations to arise, evolve, and potentially even develop advanced technologies. Let's paint a picture. Imagine just a single civilization arising in our galaxy, the Milky Way. Let's say this civilization develops interstellar travel, even if it's slow, taking thousands of years to reach the nearest star systems. Even at a slow pace, over millions of years, this civilization could potentially colonize the entire galaxy. They would spread, set up outposts, and establish a presence on countless worlds. And if one civilization can do that, why not many? Why? Haven't we seen any evidence of these galactic empires? Where are the radio signals, the Dyson spheres, the self-replicating probes exploring the cosmos? This is the core of the Fermi Paradox. Fermi famously posed the question during a lunch conversation in 1950. The story goes that he and his colleagues were discussing the possibility of extraterrestrial life when Fermi, seemingly out of the blue, asked, "Where is everybody?" That simple question captured the essence of the paradox. The Drake equation, which we've discussed before, attempts to quantify the probability of finding other intelligent civilizations in our galaxy. While the Drake equation is useful for highlighting the factors involved, it's ultimately based on a lot of guesswork. Many of the terms in the equation are highly uncertain, making it difficult to arrive at a definitive answer. But even if we take conservative estimates for the Drake equation, the sheer number of stars and planets suggest that we shouldn't be alone. Even if life is incredibly rare, the universe is so vast that it seems statistically improbable that Earth is the only planet harboring intelligent life. So, why the silence? Why haven't we detected any extraterrestrial signals? This is where the various proposed solutions to the Fermi paradox come into play. And these solutions range from the plausible to the downright terrifying. One possibility is that interstellar travel is simply too difficult. Maybe the distances are too vast, the energy requirements too high, or the technological challenges insurmountable. Even if a civilization could theoretically reach other star systems, the practical difficulties might make it impossible. Another explanation is that intelligent life is inherently self-destructive. Perhaps civilizations inevitably destroy themselves through war, environmental catastrophe, or some other existential threat before they have a chance to spread throughout the galaxy. This is a grim possibility, and it serves as a cautionary tale for our own civilization. Then there's the zoo hypothesis. This suggests that extraterrestrial civilizations are aware of our existence, but are deliberately choosing not to contact us. Maybe they're observing us like animals in a zoo, waiting for us to reach a certain level of development before making themselves known. Another intriguing idea is the simulation hypothesis. Perhaps we're living in a computer simulation, and the absence of alien contact is simply a limitation of the simulation. This is a mind-bending concept that raises all sorts of philosophical questions about the nature of reality. The Great Filter is another potential solution, and it's one of the most discussed and debated. This hypothesis suggests that there's a significant barrier that prevents most life from reaching a certain stage of development. It could be a hurdle in the development of life itself, the evolution of intelligence, or the achievement of interstellar travel. The scary part about the Great Filter is that we don't know where it lies. It could be behind us, meaning that we've already overcome the obstacle that prevents most life from reaching our stage. Or it could be ahead of us, meaning that our civilization is doomed to extinction. Like countless others before us, it's also possible that our search methods are simply inadequate. Maybe we're looking for the wrong kind of signals, or we're not looking in the right places. Perhaps alien civilizations communicate in ways that we don't yet understand, or they're deliberately avoiding detection. Another explanation is that intelligent life is common, but it's spread out so thinly across the galaxy that the chances of two civilizations making contact are extremely low. Think of it like searching for a single grain of sand on a vast beach, and then there's the unsettling possibility that we are, in fact, alone. That Earth is a uniquely special planet, and that the conditions necessary for the emergence of complex life are incredibly rare. This is the rare Earth hypothesis, which suggests that a combination of factors, from our planet's size and composition to its location in the galaxy, have made it uniquely suitable for life. The Fermi Paradox doesn't have a definitive answer. It's a question that continues to puzzle scientists and philosophers alike. But it's a question worth pondering because it forces us to confront our place in the universe and to consider the potential implications of discovering, or not discovering, extraterrestrial life. The silence of the cosmos speaks volumes, even if we don't yet understand what it's saying. And the search goes on. The Fermi Paradox, as we've discussed, paints a rather unsettling picture. The universe is vast, old, and seemingly teeming with opportunities for life to arise. So, where is everyone? Why haven't we detected any signs of extraterrestrial civilizations? Numerous solutions to this paradox have been proposed, ranging from the plausible to the downright bizarre. Today, we'll explore one of the more sobering and perhaps more likely explanations the great filter. The great filter theory, first proposed by economist Robin Hanson, suggests that there is some kind of filter standing in the way of life developing into an interstellar civilization. This filter represents a stage in the evolution of life that is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to overcome. It's a bottleneck that prevents most, if not all, life from progressing beyond a certain point. Now, this filter could be behind us, meaning it represents a hurdle that we've already cleared. Or, perhaps more worryingly, it could be ahead of us, looming in our future, a challenge that awaits us, and that may ultimately prove insurmountable to understand the great filter. Let's break down the theoretical steps required for a species to reach the stars. First, you need a suitable planet, one that resides in the habitable zone of its star and possesses the necessary elements for life. Then, you need abiogenesis, the origin of life from non-living matter. This is the process by which simple organic molecules assemble into self-replicating systems, the very foundation of life as we know it. Next, you need the development of simple, single-celled organisms. These organisms need to evolve and diversify, eventually leading to complex, multicellular life. From there, you need intelligent life to emerge, a species capable of abstract thought, problem-solving, and technological innovation. Finally, that intelligent life needs to develop advanced technology, including the ability to harness energy, travel through space, and communicate across interstellar distances. The great filter theory suggests that one or more of these steps is exceedingly difficult to achieve. If a step is truly a filter, it means that the probability of successfully passing through it is extremely low. So, where could this great filter be? Well, let's consider some possibilities behind us, things we have already overcome. One possibility is abiogenesis itself. Perhaps the origin of life is far rarer than we currently believe. Maybe the conditions required for non-living matter to assemble into the first self-replicating organisms are incredibly specific and improbable, a cosmic fluke that only happened once. Here on Earth, if this is the case, then we are indeed exceptionally lucky, but it also means that the universe may be largely devoid of life. Another potential filter could be the evolution of simple, single-celled organisms into complex, multicellular life. The transition from prokaryotes to eukaryotes cells with a nucleus and other complex organelles was a major evolutionary leap. Perhaps this step requires a unique set of circumstances, a delicate balance of environmental factors and genetic mutations that rarely occur. The emergence of intelligent life could also be a significant filter. Favor intelligence. In fact, for most of Earth's history, life was dominated by relatively simple organisms. The development of human-level intelligence required a specific chain of events, including changes in brain size, social structures, and environmental pressures. Perhaps this combination of factors is extraordinarily rare, making intelligent life a cosmic anomaly. If any of these past steps represent the great filter, then we've already cleared it. This would mean that we are among the first, if not the only intelligent species to have reached this point in the galaxy. It would be a testament to our unique and improbable existence. But it wouldn't necessarily guarantee our future success, which leads us to the more unsettling possibility that the great filter lies ahead of us. This means that there is some future event or challenge that is likely to wipe out any civilization before it can reach the stars. What could this future filter be? Well, the possibilities are numerous and often quite bleak. One potential filter could be self-destruction. As civilizations develop advanced technology, they also develop the capacity to destroy themselves, whether through nuclear war, climate change, engineered pandemics, or some other unforeseen catastrophe. Perhaps every intelligent civilization eventually reaches a point where its own technological prowess becomes its undoing. Another possibility is resource depletion. As civilizations grow and consume more resources, they may eventually exhaust the available supplies, leading to collapse and extinction. This could be a particularly relevant filter in a universe with finite resources and limited opportunities for expansion. A more speculative, but no less chilling, possibility is some kind of unknown cosmic threat. Perhaps there is a periodic event, like a gamma-ray burst or a rogue asteroid impact, that wipes out life on a planetary scale. Or maybe there is some other, currently unknown, danger lurking in the cosmos, a silent killer that awaits any civilization that becomes too conspicuous. Finally, it's worth considering the possibility that the great filter is not a single event, but rather a series of smaller filters, each of which represents a significant challenge to overcome. Perhaps the road to the stars is paved with obstacles, each more difficult than the last, and the odds of successfully navigating all of them are infinitesimally small. The implications of the great filter are profound. If the filter is behind us, then we may be alone, or at least exceptionally rare, in the galaxy. This would place a great responsibility on our shoulders as the stewards of life and intelligence in the universe. We would need to be careful to preserve our existence and avoid any actions that could jeopardize our future. If, on the other hand, the filter is ahead of us, then we face a daunting challenge. We need to identify the potential threats to our survival and take steps to mitigate them. This could involve developing sustainable technologies, promoting international cooperation, and exploring new frontiers in space. The Great Filter Theory is, of course, just a theory. There is no guarantee that it is correct, but it serves as a valuable reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of prudence and foresight. It forces us to confront the possibility that our existence is not guaranteed, and that we need to work actively to ensure our survival. Ultimately, the question of whether we are alone in the universe remains unanswered. But by exploring theories like the Great Filter, we can gain a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, and perhaps, just perhaps, increase our chances of successfully navigating the cosmic landscape. Throughout history, humankind has gazed at the stars, pondering the age-old question, are we alone? While the vastness of the universe suggests the possibility of other intelligent life, concrete evidence remains elusive. But we haven't been passively waiting for a cosmic phone call. For decades, we've been actively searching, listening, and hoping to detect a signal from another civilization. And that's where SETI comes in. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, isn't a single organization, but rather a collection of scientific projects dedicated to finding evidence of technologically advanced life beyond Earth. The core idea is simple. If an alien civilization exists and wants to communicate, they might use electromagnetic radiation, like radio waves, to send signals across interstellar distances. Why radio waves? Well, they travel at the speed of light, penetrate interstellar dust clouds relatively easily, and require less energy to transmit than other forms of radiation like visible light, especially across light years. The concept of using radio waves to communicate with other worlds dates back to the late 19th century, shortly after their discovery. But the modern era of SETI truly began in 1959 with a groundbreaking paper published in Nature by physicist Giuseppe Coccone and Philip Morrison, titled Searching for Interstellar Communications. It proposed that advanced civilizations might be using radio waves at a specific frequency, around 1420 megahertz, which corresponds to the radio emission of neutral hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. This frequency, they reasoned, would be universally recognized and could serve as a sort of interstellar hailing frequency, inspired by Coccone and Morrison's paper. Astronomer Frank Drake conducted the first modern SETI experiment in 1960 called Project Ozma, using the 85-foot Tattle telescope at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. Drake scanned to nearby sun-like stars, SETI, and Epsilon Eridani at the 1420 MHz frequency. While Project OSMA didn't detect any extraterrestrial signals, it marked a significant milestone, demonstrating the feasibility of using radio telescopes to search for alien communications. Drake's work wasn't just about listening for signals. He also developed an equation, now known as the Drake equation, to estimate the number of detectable civilizations in our galaxy. While highly speculative due to the uncertainty surrounding its variables, the Drake equation has become a cornerstone of SETI, framing the discussion and highlighting the factors that influenced the likelihood of finding extraterrestrial life. We talked about that equation earlier in the video. Over the following decades, SETI projects proliferated, employing increasingly sophisticated technology and searching across wider ranges of the electromagnetic spectrum. One notable project was Project Cyclops, proposed in the 1970s, which envisioned building a massive array of radio telescopes dedicated solely to SETI. While Project Cyclops wasn't fully realized due to its enormous cost, it spurred the development of more powerful and efficient search techniques. In the 1980s, SETI gained further momentum with the launch of NASA's High-Resolution Microwave Survey, HRMS, also known as Project Sentinel and Project Meta. HRMS aimed to conduct a comprehensive search of the sky for narrowband radio signals, using advanced signal processing techniques to filter out terrestrial interference. However, the HRMS project was unfortunately canceled by Congress in 1993 due to budgetary constraints and a lack of perceived scientific merit by some politicians. Despite the setback of the HRM's cancellation, SETI research continued, driven by private funding and the dedication of scientists around the world. The SETI Institute, founded in 1984, became a leading force in the field, conducting research, education, and outreach related to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. One of the SETI Institute's most prominent projects is the Allen Telescope Array ATA, a dedicated radio telescope array located in Hat Creek, California. The ATA, co-developed with the University of California, Berkeley, is designed to simultaneously search for extraterrestrial signals while also conducting traditional astronomical observations. Its modular design allows for flexibility and expansion, making it a powerful tool for SETI research. Another significant development in SETI has been the rise of distributed computing projects, such as SETI at Home, launched in 1999. SETI at Home allows volunteers to download and analyze radio telescope data on their personal computers. This innovative approach has significantly increased the amount of data that can be processed, accelerating the search for extraterrestrial signals. Modern SETI projects employ a variety of sophisticated techniques to identify potential extraterrestrial signals. One key strategy is to look for narrowband signals, which are signals with a very narrow frequency range. Natural radio emissions tend to be broadband, spread across a wider range of frequencies. So a narrowband signal could be a sign of artificial origin. Another technique is to look for signals that exhibit specific patterns or modulations. For example, a signal that repeats prime numbers or contains a complex mathematical sequence would be highly suggestive of intelligent design. Scientists also look for signals that appear to be deliberately aimed at Earth, exhibiting a Doppler shift consistent with the Earth's rotation and orbit. Of course, distinguishing genuine extraterrestrial signals from terrestrial interference is a major challenge. Our planet is awash in radio waves from satellites, cell phones, televisions, and countless other sources. SETI researchers use sophisticated algorithms to filter out these unwanted signals, focusing on signals that are persistent, narrow, and exhibit artificial characteristics. Even then, a candidate signal must undergo rigorous scrutiny to rule out any possibility of terrestrial origin. This often involves correlating the signal with known sources of interference, checking for similar signals detected by other telescopes, and analyzing the signal's characteristics for any telltale signs of human activity. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence is a long and challenging endeavor, but the potential rewards are immense. The discovery of another intelligent civilization would have profound implications for our understanding of the universe, our place within it, and the future of humanity. It would also raise a host of fascinating scientific, philosophical, and ethical questions as technology advances and our understanding of the universe deepens. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence will continue to evolve. New telescopes, advanced signal processing techniques, and innovative search strategies will undoubtedly emerge, increasing our chances of one day answering the question, are we alone? And while the universe remains stubbornly silent, the search itself is testament to humanity's curiosity, ingenuity, and unwavering quest for knowledge. The journey continues, driven by the hope that one day we'll hear a signal that changes everything. Okay. So we've talked a lot about radio waves and SETI's dedication to listening for them. But let's face it, even if alien civilizations are out there, there's no guarantee they'd choose to communicate the same way we do. It's like assuming everyone in the world speaks English. It's a bit Earth-centric, isn't it? So, what other methods might they use? What other signals might be traversing the cosmos, waiting to be detected? Let's push beyond the familiar realm of radio and explore some tantalizing alternatives. First up, let's consider optical signals. Think of it as interstellar Morse code, but with lasers. Light, particularly laser light, offers some distinct advantages over radio waves. For starters, lasers can be incredibly focused. You can aim a powerful laser beam at a specific star system with far greater precision than you can with a radio wave, which tends to spread out over vast distances, weakening the signal. This focused energy means you could, theoretically, transmit a message across interstellar distances with a relatively modest amount of power. Imagine a civilization on a planet orbiting a distant star. They could, in theory, use a powerful laser to send a pulse of light our way, encoding information in the pattern of those pulses. We could detect these pulses using large optical telescopes, searching for anomalies in the light from distant stars. It's like looking for a blinking signal in a sea of steady light. Of course, there are challenges. Interstellar dust and gas can scatter and absorb light, potentially weakening the signal. And we need to know where to look. A directed search for optical signals requires us to pre-select target stars, making it a bit of a needle-line haystack situation. Despite these hurdles, some researchers are already actively searching for these kinds of signals through projects like optical SETI. They are scouring the night sky, hoping to catch a glimpse of an alien laser beam. But light isn't the only alternative. What about something that's far more fundamental? Something woven into the very fabric of space-time. I'm talking about gravitational waves. Gravitational waves, as predicted by Einstein's theory of general relativity, are ripples in space-time caused by accelerating massive objects. Think of it like dropping a pebble into a pond. The pebble creates ripples that spread outwards. In the case of gravitational waves, the pebbles are things like colliding black holes or neutron stars, and these ripples travel at the speed of light, carrying information about the events that created them. Now, using gravitational waves for communication is a much more advanced and hypothetical concept than using radio waves or lasers. It would require incredibly powerful and precise technology, capable of generating and modulating gravitational waves in a controlled manner. We're not even close to having that kind of technology here on Earth. However, in theory, a sufficiently advanced civilization could use gravitational waves to send complex messages across vast distances. The advantage: gravitational waves are largely unaffected by interstellar dust and gas. They can penetrate virtually anything, making them a very robust and reliable means of communication. Imagine a message that could pass through anything and be received on the other side. The downside, of course, is the sheer energy required. To generate meaningful gravitational waves would require astronomical amounts of power. Perhaps harnessing the energy of a star. But for a civilization capable of such feats, the potential rewards could be immense. We're only just beginning to unlock the secrets of gravitational waves with detectors like LIGO and Virgo. So, the possibility of using them for interstellar communication remains firmly in the realm of speculation. But it's a speculation rooted in real physics. Let's go a little further out on the speculative limb. What about faster than light communication? I know, Einstein's theory of special relativity tells us that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. It's a cornerstone of modern physics. But what if there are loopholes? What if there are undiscovered phenomena that allow for some kind of faster than light FTL communication, even if it doesn't involve actually moving matter faster than light? The realm of theoretical physics offers some tantalizing, albeit highly speculative, possibilities. One idea involves quantum entanglement. When two particles are entangled, they become linked in such a way that their fates are intertwined, regardless of the distance separating them. If you measure the state of one particle, you instantly know the state of the other, even if they're light years apart. Now, here's the catch. While entanglement appears to be instantaneous, it can't be used to transmit information faster than light. Measuring one particle only tells you the state of the other particle. It doesn't allow you to control that state and encode a message. It's like knowing the color of a card that someone else is holding, but not being able to change that color. Despite this limitation, some physicists are still exploring the possibility of exploiting quantum entanglement for some form of FTL communication, perhaps by using it to establish a shared key for encrypting messages transmitted via conventional means. It's a long shot, but the potential payoff is so huge that it's worth exploring. Another speculative idea involves wormholes, theoretical tunnels through space-time that could connect to distant points in the universe. The concept is that you enter one end of the wormhole and instantly emerge at the other end, potentially bypassing the limitations of the speed of light. The problem, of course, is that wormholes are purely theoretical. We have no evidence that they actually exist, and even if they do, keeping them open and traversable would likely require exotic matter with negative mass energy density, something that has never been observed. Furthermore, even if we could find and stabilize a wormhole, using it for communication might still be problematic. There could be time dilation effects or other weird phenomena that would make it difficult to send and receive messages reliably. These FTL ideas are definitely on the fringe of mainstream science, but they illustrate the kind of creative thinking that's needed when considering the possibilities of extraterrestrial communication. We shouldn't limit ourselves to what we think is possible based on our current understanding of physics. After all, our understanding is constantly evolving. So, the question remains, if we're looking for alien civilizations, should we only be listening for radio waves? The answer, quite clearly, is no. While radio astronomy remains a valuable tool, we need to broaden our horizons and explore these alternative communication methods. We need to search for optical signals, continue to develop our understanding of gravitational waves, and even keep an open mind about the more speculative possibilities. The universe is vast and full of surprises, and we shouldn't assume that alien civilizations will communicate in ways that are familiar to us. The key is to be open to the unknown, to be willing to explore new possibilities, and to never stop searching. Because the signal we're looking for might not be a beep in the radio spectrum, but something far more exotic waiting to be discovered. All right, buckle up, because now we're diving headfirst into one of the most exciting aspects of the search for extraterrestrial life, the discovery of exoplanets. For centuries, we could only speculate about planets orbiting other stars. They were theoretical, distant possibilities. But that all changed in the late 20th century, and especially in the 21st, thanks to advancements in astronomical technology. We've gone from imagining other worlds to cataloging them at an astonishing rate. An exoplanet, as the name suggests, is simply a planet that orbits a star other than our Sun. And, let me tell you, they are everywhere. Our solar system, once thought to be possibly unique, now appears to be just one of countless planetary systems scattered across the Milky Way galaxy and beyond. These planets are diverse in size, composition, and orbital characteristics, challenging our preconceived notions of what a planetary system should look like. The first confirmed exoplanet discovery came in 1992. Not around a sun-like star, but around a pulsar, a rapidly rotating neutron star, called PSRB 1257+12. While fascinating, the conditions around a pulsar are incredibly hostile to life as we know it due to the intense radiation. So, the real game changer came in 1995 with the discovery of 51 Pegasi b, a gas giant orbiting a sun-like star. This planet, located about 50 light-years away in the constellation Pegasus, was a hot Jupiter, a gas giant orbiting incredibly close to its star, much closer than Mercury is to our Sun. This discovery challenged our understanding of planetary formation and migration, but the discoveries kept coming, and the rate of discovery increased exponentially with the launch of dedicated exoplanet hunting missions like Kepler Space Telescope launched in 2009, used the transit method to detect exoplanets. This method involves monitoring the brightness of stars and looking for tiny dips in brightness that occur when a planet passes in front of the star, blocking a small amount of its light. Kepler stared at a single patch of sky for years, monitoring over 150,000 stars, and its data revealed thousands of exoplanet candidates. Many of these have since been confirmed as actual planets. Kepler's success revolutionized our understanding of exoplanets, showing us that planets are incredibly common. Scientists now estimate that there are billions of exoplanets in our galaxy alone, and that many stars likely have multiple planets orbiting them. Just think about that for a moment. Billions of opportunities for life to potentially arise. Now, when we talk about the search for habitable exoplanets, we're generally looking for planets that are rocky, similar in size to Earth, and located within the habitable zone of their star. The habitable zone, also known as the Goldilocks zone, is the region around a star where the temperature is just right for liquid water to exist on the surface of a planet. Liquid water, as we've discussed, is considered essential for life, as we currently understand it. And that brings us to some particularly intriguing exoplanet discoveries. Let's start with Proxima Centauri b. This planet orbits Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our Sun, located just over 4 light-years away. Proxima Centauri b is a rocky planet estimated to be slightly larger than Earth, and it resides within the habitable zone of its star. That's huge. The proximity of this planet makes it a prime target for future observations and potential exploration. However, Proxima Centauri is a red dwarf star, which presents some challenges for habitability. Red dwarfs are smaller and cooler than our Sun, and they emit powerful flares that could potentially strip away a planet's atmosphere. So, while Proxima Centauri b is located within the habitable zone, whether it is truly habitable is still an open question. Another extremely interesting planetary system is TRAPPIST-1. TRAPPIST-1 is an ultra-cool dwarf star located about 40 light-years away, and it hosts 7 known planets. What's even more remarkable is that at least 3 of these planets are located within the habitable zone. These planets, designated TRAPPIST-1e, TRAPPIST-1f, and TRAPPIST-1g, are all rocky and potentially capable of supporting liquid water on their surfaces. The TRAPPIST-1 system has become a focal point in the search for extraterrestrial life, and scientists are eagerly studying these planets to learn more about their atmospheres and potential habitability. But it's crucial to remember that being in the habitable zone isn't a guarantee of habitability. A planet's atmosphere, magnetic field, and geological activity all play crucial roles in determining whether it can support life. For example, Venus is located within our Sun's habitable zone, but its thick, toxic atmosphere and scorching surface temperatures make it completely inhospitable. The discovery of exoplanets has opened up a whole new chapter in the search for extraterrestrial life. We're no longer limited to studying planets within our own solar system. We can now study planets orbiting other stars, planets that may be very different from anything we've ever seen before. As technology advances, we will be able to learn even more about these distant worlds, including the composition of their atmospheres and the potential for liquid water. The James Webb Space Telescope, launched in 2021, is already providing unprecedented insights into exoplanet atmospheres. It's able to analyze the light that passes through a planet's atmosphere, searching for specific molecules that could indicate the presence of life, so-called biosignatures. These biosignatures could include gases like oxygen, methane, or phosphine, which are produced by living organisms on Earth. The detection of such biosignatures on an exoplanet would be a significant step towards confirming the existence of life beyond Earth. The exploration of exoplanets is a long and challenging process, but the potential rewards are enormous. The discovery of even a single habitable exoplanet or evidence of past or present life on another world would have profound implications for our understanding of the universe and our place within it. It would change everything. The age of exoplanet discovery is truly a new era, filled with possibility and intrigue. Each new discovery, each new data point brings us closer to answering the fundamental question: are we alone? The answer is out there among the stars, and we are only just beginning to look. All right, so we've talked about habitable zones, liquid water, and even some alternative biochemistries. But how do we actually know what's on these distant exoplanets? I mean, they're light years away. We can't just send a probe and scoop up some samples, at least not yet. The answer, surprisingly, lies in light. Specifically, starlight that passes through or is reflected by an exoplanet's atmosphere. It's like holding a prism up to the sun, but instead of rainbows, we get clues about the chemical makeup of a world. This technique is called transmission spectroscopy, and it's our primary tool for analyzing exoplanet atmospheres. Think of it this way: when a planet transits or passes in front of its star from our perspective, a tiny fraction of the star's light filters through the planet's atmosphere before reaching our telescopes. Now, different molecules in the atmosphere absorb specific wavelengths of light. It's like each molecule has its own unique fingerprint. By analyzing the wavelengths that are absorbed, we can identify the molecules present in the atmosphere. Imagine shining a white light containing all the colors of the rainbow through a jar of gas. If the gas contains, say, sodium, it will absorb specific yellow wavelengths. When you look at the light that comes out the other side, you'll notice dark lines or dips in the spectrum at those yellow wavelengths. These dark lines are absorption lines, and they tell us that sodium is present in the gas. Transmission spectroscopy does essentially the same thing, but on a much grander scale and with much more sophisticated instruments. Now, it's not always easy. The signals we're talking about are incredibly faint. We're detecting minuscule changes in the brightness of a star that's trillions of miles away. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a stadium full of screaming fans. That's why we need powerful telescopes, both on the ground and in space, and sophisticated data analysis techniques to tease out these faint signals. But what are we actually looking for? What are these so-called biosignatures that would indicate the presence of life? Well, that's where things get interesting and a little bit tricky. The most obvious biosignature is oxygen. On Earth, oxygen is primarily produced by photosynthesis, the process by which plants and algae convert sunlight into energy. A planet with a high concentration of oxygen in its atmosphere would be a very intriguing target for further investigation. However, oxygen can also be produced by non-biological processes, such as the breakdown of water molecules by ultraviolet radiation. So, detecting oxygen alone isn't a slam dunk. We need to consider other factors as well. Methane is another potential biosignature. On Earth, a significant portion of methane is produced by microbes, particularly those living in oxygen-poor environments like wetlands and the guts of animals. Detecting methane alongside oxygen would be particularly interesting, as these two gases tend to react with each other. The presence of both suggests that they are being actively replenished, potentially by biological activity. However, like oxygen, methane can also be produced abiotically through geological processes. For example, volcanic activity and hydrothermal vents can release methane into the atmosphere. Therefore, we need to carefully consider the geological context of the planet before jumping to any conclusions beyond oxygen and methane. There are other potential biosignatures that scientists are investigating. These include gases like nitrous oxide, phosphine, and dimethyl sulfide. Each of these gases is produced by biological processes on Earth, and their detection on an exoplanet could be suggestive of life. But here's the rub. It's not just about detecting a single biosignature. It's about understanding the entire atmospheric context. We need to consider the concentrations of different gases, their ratios to each other, and the overall chemical equilibrium of the atmosphere. We also need to take into account the planet's star, its age, its size, and its orbital parameters. It's a complex puzzle, and we need to piece together all the clues before we can say, with any degree of certainty, that a planet harbors life. And it's worth noting that what constitutes a biosignature is constantly evolving. As we learn more about the potential for life in extreme environments on Earth, and as we develop more sophisticated models of planetary atmospheres, our understanding of what to look for is changing. For example, some scientists are exploring the possibility of anti-biosignatures, gases that are conspicuously absent from an atmosphere that would be expected to have them if life wasn't actively removing them. Or considering that on early Earth, many of the early organisms had different waste products. So what are those products that may not even be on our radar as signs of life? The James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, is revolutionizing our ability to study exoplanet atmospheres. Its large mirror and advanced instruments allow it to detect fainter signals and probe a wider range of wavelengths than previous telescopes. JWST is already providing unprecedented insights into the atmospheres of hot gas giants, and it's poised to make even more groundbreaking discoveries in the years to come, especially when it comes to smaller, rocky planets in the habitable zones of their stars. One of the most exciting targets for JWST is the TRAPPIST-1 system, a group of 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting a small, cool star. Several of these planets lie within the habitable zone, and JWST is being used to study their atmospheres in detail, searching for biosignatures and clues about their potential habitability. Analyzing incredibly rewarding endeavor. It's a key step in our search for life beyond Earth, and it's pushing the boundaries of our scientific and technological capabilities as we continue to develop new instruments and techniques, and as we observe more and more exoplanets. We're getting closer to answering one of the most fundamental questions in science. Are we alone in the universe? The data is out there, just waiting to be uncovered. And who knows, maybe the next spectrum we analyze will hold the key to unlocking that mystery. Europa, one of Jupiter's 4 largest moons, stands out as a particularly compelling target in our search for extraterrestrial life. Unlike many other celestial bodies in our solar system, Europa isn't just a cold, barren rock. It's an ocean world, a place where a vast, salty ocean lies hidden beneath a thick shell of ice. And where there's liquid water, there's the potential for life. Imagine a world bathed in the faint, distant light of the sun, perpetually shrouded in ice. That's Europa. But don't let its frozen exterior fool you. Beneath that icy shell lies a dynamic and potentially habitable environment. The evidence for Europa's subsurface ocean is compelling. Scientists have pieced together various clues from spacecraft observations, including data from the Voyager and Galileo missions, to build a convincing case for its existence. One of the strongest pieces of evidence comes from Europa's magnetic field. Galileo detected a weak magnetic field that interacts with Jupiter's powerful magnetic field in a way that suggests the presence of a salty, electrically conductive ocean beneath the surface. This interaction induces a magnetic field within Europa itself, providing a telltale sign of a liquid. Layer. Another line of evidence comes from the study of Europa's surface. The icy shell is crisscrossed with a network of cracks and ridges, some of which stretch for thousands of kilometers. These features suggest that the ice shell is constantly being flexed and stressed by tidal forces from Jupiter's gravity. This flexing generates heat within the ice, which helps to keep the ocean liquid. Furthermore, observations of Europa's surface reveal relatively few impact craters, indicating that the surface is geologically young and active. This suggests that the ice shell is being constantly resurfaced by processes related to the underlying ocean, such as cryovolcanism, the eruption of icy water onto the surface. But what makes Europa's ocean potentially habitable? Well, there are several key factors. First and foremost, there's liquid water. Water is essential for all life as we know it, serving as a solvent for chemical reactions and a medium for transporting nutrients and waste. Second, Europa's ocean is believed to be in contact with a rocky seafloor. This is significant because it provides a potential source of chemical energy. Interactions between seawater and the seafloor rocks can lead to the formation of hydrothermal vents, similar to those found on Earth's ocean floor. On Earth, hydrothermal vents are teeming with life, even in the absence of sunlight. These ecosystems are fueled by chemosynthesis, a process in which microorganisms extract energy from chemical compounds, such as hydrogen sulfide, that are released from the vents. It's conceivable that similar chemosynthetic ecosystems could exist in Europa's ocean, far from the reach of the sun's rays. Third, Europa's ocean likely contains a variety of dissolved salts and minerals, which could provide essential nutrients for life. While the exact composition of the ocean is unknown, scientists believe it is likely similar to Earth's oceans, containing salts such as sodium chloride, magnesium sulfate, and potassium chloride. However, accessing Europa's ocean and confirming the presence of life is a formidable challenge. The icy shell is estimated to be several kilometers thick, making it difficult to penetrate and explore the ocean directly. Despite these challenges, several ambitious missions are planned to study Europa in greater detail. One of the most exciting is NASA's Europa Clipper mission, scheduled to launch in 2024. Europa Clipper will perform a series of flybys of Europa, using a suite of sophisticated instruments to study the Moon's surface, ice shell, and subsurface ocean. The mission will carry cameras, spectrometers, and radar instruments to map the surface, analyze the composition of the ice, and probe the thickness of the ice shell. It will also carry a magnetometer to study Europa's magnetic field and a plasma instrument to investigate the Moon's interaction with Jupiter's radiation environment, Europa. Clipper will not land on Europa or directly sample its ocean. However, it will gather crucial data that will help scientists understand the Moon's habitability and identify potential landing sites for future missions. Another exciting mission is the European Space Agency's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE, which launched in April 2023. While JUICE's primary focus is on Ganymede and Callisto, two other icy moons of Jupiter, it will also perform several flybys of Europa, providing valuable data to complement the Europa Clipper mission. One of the key questions that these missions will address is the thickness of Europa's ice shell. Determining the thickness of the ice is crucial for planning future missions that could potentially penetrate the ice and explore the ocean directly. Several concepts for such missions have been proposed, including robotic submarines that could melt their way through the ice and explore the ocean depths. These submarines could carry sensors to measure the ocean's temperature, salinity, and chemical composition, as well as cameras to search for signs of life. Another concept involves using a cryobot, a probe that would melt its way through the ice using heat. The cryobot could be equipped with instruments to analyze the ice as it melts and to sample the ocean once it reaches the bottom. These missions are still in the planning stages, but they represent a long-term vision for exploring Europa's ocean and searching for evidence of life. The challenges are immense, but the potential rewards are even greater. Imagine the implications of discovering life on Europa. It would revolutionize our understanding of biology and the potential for life beyond Earth. It would suggest that life is not unique to our planet, but is a common phenomenon in the universe. The search for life on Europa is not just a scientific endeavor. It's a quest to answer one of the most fundamental questions of our existence. Are we alone? And as we continue to explore this fascinating ocean world, we may be one step closer to finding the answer. The exploration of Europa represents humanity's drive to understand our place in the cosmos. It beckons with the possibility of rewriting textbooks and redefining what we know about the universe and our potential cosmic neighbors. It truly is a new frontier, bubbling with the tantalizing prospect of discovering life beyond Earth. Enceladus, a small, icy moon orbiting Saturn, might just hold one of the biggest secrets in our solar system, a potentially habitable ocean. At a mere 500 kilometers in diameter, that's roughly the width of Arizona, Enceladus initially seemed like just another frozen rock in the Saturnian system. But looks, as they say, can be deceiving. The game changed in 2005 thanks to NASA's Cassini spacecraft. Cassini, during its close flybys of Enceladus, detected plumes of water vapor and icy particles erupting from the moon's south polar region. These weren't just small puffs of gas. They were powerful jets spewing hundreds of kilometers into space. Imagine the Earth and picture water shooting out of the South Pole, reaching almost halfway to the moon. That's the scale we're talking about. These plumes were a bombshell. Scientists quickly realized that they originated from a subsurface ocean, a hidden body of liquid water beneath Enceladus's icy shell. This was a monumental discovery because liquid water is considered essential for life as we know it. Suddenly, this tiny, seemingly insignificant moon became a prime target in the search for extraterrestrial life. But how could Enceladus, so far from the Sun, maintain a liquid ocean? The answer lies in tidal forces. Enceladus experiences a gravitational TUJUV war between Saturn and its neighboring moons. This constant squeezing and stretching generates internal heat, preventing the ocean from freezing solid. Think of it like bending a paperclip back and forth repeatedly. It heats up, right? The same principle applies to Enceladus, only on a much grander scale. The discovery of the plumes also allowed scientists to directly sample the ocean's composition. Cassini flew directly through the plumes, analyzing the ejected material with its onboard instruments. The results were astonishing. The plumes contained not only water vapor and ice particles, but also salts, simple organic molecules, and even silica nanoparticles. The presence of salts indicates that the ocean is interacting with a rocky core, a key ingredient for potential habitability. Think of Earth's oceans. The salt comes from the weathering of rocks. Similarly, on Enceladus, the interaction between the ocean and the core could be creating a chemically diverse environment. But the real excitement came from the detection of organic molecules. Organic molecules are the building blocks of life, containing carbon and hydrogen, and sometimes other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. While the organic molecules found on Enceladus are relatively simple, Their presence suggests that more complex organic compounds could exist within the ocean. And then there were the silicon nanoparticles. These tiny particles, each about the size of a virus, can only form under specific conditions in water with a temperature of at least 90 degrees Celsius and a relatively high pH. The presence of these silica nanoparticles provides further evidence of hydrothermal activity on the ocean floor. Hydrothermal vents, similar to those found on Earth's ocean floor, could be releasing heat and chemicals from the moon's rocky core into the ocean. On Earth, these vents support thriving ecosystems, even in a complete absence of sunlight. They provide energy and nutrients for chemosynthetic organisms, which obtain energy from chemical reactions rather than photosynthesis. The discovery of hydrothermal activity on Enceladus raises the tantalizing possibility that similar chemosynthetic ecosystems could exist in its ocean. Imagine a hidden world of life thriving in the dark, fueled by the chemical energy of hydrothermal vents. However, Enceladus isn't without its challenges for life. The ocean is thought to be relatively salty and alkaline, and it's unclear if it contains all the essential elements needed for life, such as phosphorus. Furthermore, the energy available for life may be limited. Despite these challenges, Enceladus remains one of the most promising places in our solar system to search for extraterrestrial life. The fact that it has a liquid ocean, a rocky core, hydrothermal activity, and organic molecules makes it a truly exceptional world. Future missions to Enceladus could provide even more clues about its habitability. A dedicated mission could deploy a probe to orbit Enceladus, studying the plumes in more detail and even attempting to land on the surface and drill through the ice to directly sample the ocean. Imagine a spacecraft skimming through the plumes, collecting samples and analyzing them for signs of life. Or a robotic submarine exploring the depth of Enceladus's ocean, searching for hydrothermal vents and the organisms that might live around them. These are ambitious goals, but they are within our reach. With advances in technology and a renewed focus on astrobiology, we could soon be able to answer the question of whether or not Enceladus harbors life. Enceladus is more than just a small, icy moon. It's a window into a potentially habitable ocean, a testament to the power of tidal forces, and a beacon of hope in a search for life beyond Earth. It's a reminder that even in the most unexpected places, life might just find a way. The ongoing exploration of Enceladus represents a profound shift in our understanding of habitability. It demonstrates that habitable environments don't necessarily require a sun-drenched surface or a protective atmosphere. They can exist in the dark depths of icy moons fueled by internal heat and the chemistry of the ocean. Enceladus teaches us that we need to broaden our horizons and consider all possibilities in the search for life beyond Earth. This tiny moon, projecting its secrets into space, beckons us to explore, to discover, and perhaps to finally answer the age-old question, are we alone? The plumes of Enceladus offer not just water vapor, but plumes of possibility. A possibility that changes everything: Mars, past, present, and future habitability. All right, let's shift our focus to our planetary neighbor, Mars, the rusty red planet. For decades, Mars has captivated our imaginations, fueled by the tantalizing prospect of finding life beyond Earth. While it's a barren desert today, evidence strongly suggests that Mars was once a much warmer, wetter, and potentially habitable world. So, let's rewind the clock and explore the intriguing history of Mars, billions of years ago. In its youth, Mars was a very different place. Imagine a planet with a thicker atmosphere, capable of trapping heat and sustaining liquid water on its surface, orbiting a younger sun and having a more active interior. This early Martian climate was warmer than it is today. Orbiting at approximately 1.5 astronomical units, it would have had to hold more of the sun's heat in than it currently does. Geological features like dried-up riverbeds, ancient lake basins, and sedimentary rocks paint a vivid picture of a past awash in water. These features are not just figments of our imagination. They've been meticulously documented by numerous Mars missions, from the Viking orbiters in the 1970s to the more recent rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance. Orbiters equipped with high-resolution cameras have revealed intricate networks of valleys carved by flowing water, some stretching for hundreds of kilometers. These aren't just trickles of water. They're substantial river systems that testify to a sustained period of fluvial activity. Further bolstering the case for a wet Mars are the mineralogical findings. Instruments on board rovers have detected hydrated minerals such as clays and sulfates, which form in the presence of liquid water. These minerals act like sponges, soaking up water and preserving it within their crystal structure. Their presence is a telltale sign that water was once abundant and played a key role in shaping the Martian landscape. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from Gale Crater, the landing site of the Curiosity rover. Curiosity has spent years exploring the sedimentary layers of Mount Sharp, a massive mountain in the center of the crater. These layers are like pages in a geological book, recording the environmental conditions of Mars over billions of years. Curiosity has found evidence of ancient lakes, streams, and even a potentially habitable delta environment. The rover has also detected organic molecules, the building blocks of life, although not necessarily indicative of life itself. So, what happened? What turned this potentially habitable planet into the cold, dry desert we see today? The leading theory points to the loss of Mars' global magnetic field. Earth's magnetic field acts as a shield, deflecting harmful solar wind particles that can strip away a planet's atmosphere. Mars, being smaller than Earth, cooled down more quickly, causing its molten iron core to solidify and shut down its magnetic dynamo without a protective magnetic field. The solar wind gradually eroded the Martian atmosphere, causing it to thin out over billions of years. As the atmosphere thinned, the planet lost its ability to retain heat, leading to a dramatic drop in temperature. Liquid water on the surface became unstable, either freezing into ice or evaporating into space. But the story doesn't end there. While the surface of Mars is currently uninhabitable, scientists believe that liquid water might still exist beneath the surface, in a form of subsurface aquifers or briny solutions. These subsurface environments could potentially provide a refuge for microbial life. Shielded from the harsh radiation and extreme temperatures of the Martian surface, this brings us to the present day. And curiosity are actively searching for evidence of past or present life. Perseverance, currently exploring Jezero Crater, an ancient lakebed, is collecting rock and soil samples that will eventually be returned to Earth for detailed analysis. These samples could hold the key to unlocking the secrets of Martian life, if it ever existed. Perseverance is equipped with sophisticated instruments designed to detect biosignatures, indicators of past or present life. These instruments can analyze the chemical composition of rocks and soils, looking for organic molecules, isotopic anomalies, and other signs that could point to biological activity. The rover also has a drill that can collect samples from deep beneath the surface, potentially accessing more pristine environments that haven't been exposed to the damaging effects of radiation. Curiosity, still active in Gale Crater, continues to explore the sedimentary layers of Mount Sharp, piecing together the history of Mars' past environments. The rover is also monitoring the Martian atmosphere for methane, a gas that can be produced by both geological and biological processes. While the source of methane on Mars is still a mystery, its presence is intriguing and warrants further investigation. Looking ahead, future Mars missions will likely focus on exploring subsurface environments and searching for evidence of extant life. Missions could involve drilling deep beneath the surface, deploying robotic submarines into subsurface lakes, or even sending astronauts to Mars to conduct InSight research. The search for life on Mars is a long and challenging endeavor. But the potential reward, discovering life beyond Earth, is well worth the effort. And what about the future habitability of Mars? Could we one day terraform Mars, transforming it into a more Earth-like planet that could support human life? This is a question that has captured the imagination of scientists and science fiction writers alike. Terraforming Mars would be a monumental undertaking, requiring significant technological advancements and a long-term commitment. It would involve increasing the planet's atmospheric pressure, raising its temperature, and creating a breathable atmosphere. One approach to terraforming Mars involves releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere to trap heat and warm the planet. This could be achieved by vaporizing frozen carbon dioxide deposits or importing greenhouse gases from other sources. Another approach involves creating a magnetic field around Mars to protect the atmosphere from the solar wind. This could be achieved by deploying a giant artificial magnet or restarting the planet's internal dynamo. However, terraforming Mars is not without its challenges. The planet is significantly smaller than Earth, with a weaker gravity and a less active geology. These factors could make it difficult to retain a thick atmosphere and sustain a stable climate. Moreover, the Martian soil is toxic and lacks the nutrients needed to support plant life. Despite these challenges, the prospect of terraforming Mars remains an intriguing possibility. With sufficient technological advancements and a long-term commitment, we might one day be able to transform Mars into a second Earth, a new home for humanity. For now, the search for life, past or present, continues, and Mars remains a prime target in our quest to answer the fundamental question: are we alone in the universe? Titan, the very name, conjures images of mythic giants, doesn't it? Case, it's a fitting title for Saturn's largest moon. A world so unlike our own, yet tantalizingly similar in some key aspects. But instead of lush green forests and shimmering blue oceans, imagine a landscape sculpted by rivers of liquid methane, where hydrocarbon smog hangs thick in the air, and the ground is littered with icy rocks instead of sun-baked soil. Welcome to Titan, a methane-based world that challenges our very definition of habitability. For decades, Titan was a blurry orange orb in our telescopes. Its thick, opaque atmosphere hid its surface from prying eyes. But with the arrival of the Cassini-Huygens mission in 2004, everything changed. We finally peeled back the veil, revealing a truly bizarre and captivating world. What makes Titan so unique? Well, first and foremost, it's the only moon in our solar system with a substantial atmosphere. And it's not just any atmosphere. A dense, nitrogen atmosphere, much like Earth's, but with a crucial difference: a significant amount of methane. This methane plays a role on Titan analogous to water on Earth. It rains, it forms rivers, it pools into lakes and seas. Think about that for a moment. Rain made of liquid methane, rivers of methane carving their way through the landscape, lakes and seas filled with liquid hydrocarbons. It's a landscape straight out of science fiction, yet it's real. Titan's surface temperature is incredibly cold, averaging around minus 179 degrees Celsius, 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Water ice is as hard as rock, forming the bedrock of Titan's landscape. So, while we typically associate liquid water with habitability, on Titan, liquid methane takes center stage. Now, the big question: could life exist in such an alien environment? It's a question that has captivated scientists and astrobiologists. For years, the short answer is, we don't know. But Titan presents a compelling case for the possibility of life based on alternative biochemistries. Traditional life, as we know it, relies on water as a solvent. Water is an excellent solvent because it's polar, meaning it can easily dissolve a wide range of molecules, facilitating the chemical reactions necessary for life. But methane, while not as versatile as water, is still a solvent. It can dissolve certain organic molecules, raising the tantalizing possibility of a methane-based life. The challenges are significant. Methane is nonpolar, which limits the types of molecules it can dissolve. And the extremely cold temperatures on Titan slow down chemical reactions dramatically. But life, as we are learning, is incredibly adaptable. Imagine a cell membrane made not of phospholipids like on Earth, but of nitrogen-containing compounds capable of surviving the cold. Imagine metabolic processes that utilize methane instead of water, generating energy through reactions we can barely even conceive of. Of course, this is all speculative. We have no evidence of life on Titan, but the possibilities are intriguing. And scientists are actively exploring the potential for alternative biochemistries that could thrive in such an environment. One exciting area of research involves azotosomes. These are hypothetical cell membranes made from nitrogen, carbon, and hydrogen, which could potentially function in liquid methane. Computer simulations have shown that azotosomes could be stable and flexible at Titan's frigid temperatures. It's a fascinating concept, demonstrating that alternative cell structures are at least theoretically possible. Another key aspect to consider is the availability of energy. Life requires energy to function, and on Earth, that energy comes primarily from the sun. But Titan is much farther from the sun than Earth, receiving significantly less sunlight. However, there are other potential energy sources on Titan. 1. Possibility is chemical energy. Titan's atmosphere is rich in organic molecules formed by the interaction of sunlight and methane. These molecules rain down onto the surface, creating a layer of organic goo. Hypothetical life forms could potentially metabolize these organic compounds, extracting energy from them. Another potential energy source is cryovolcanism. Cryovolcanoes erupt not with molten rock, but with icy water, ammonia, or methane. These eruptions could bring up subsurface materials, providing chemical energy for life. While the search for life on Titan is a long shot, it's a worthwhile endeavor. Even if we don't find life, studying Titan can help us understand the limits of habitability and expand our understanding of the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. Future missions, too. Titan could provide crucial data. A proposed mission called Dragonfly, for example, is a rotorcraft lander that would explore different locations on Titan, analyzing the surface composition and searching for biosignatures. Dragonfly could potentially uncover evidence of prebiotic chemistry or even, perhaps, life itself. Titan represents a frontier in astrobiology, a challenge to our assumptions about what life requires. It's a reminder that life may be more diverse and adaptable than we currently imagine. And as we continue to explore this fascinating world, we may just rewrite the textbooks on biology, revealing the incredible potential for life beyond Earth. The journey to understand Titan is not just a quest to explore a distant moon, but an exploration of the very boundaries of life itself. And that, in itself, makes Titan a truly compelling destination in our search for life beyond Earth. All right, let's talk about the rare Earth hypothesis. In the grand cosmic scheme of things, is Earth just another planet, or is it something truly special? This hypothesis takes a long, hard look at all the factors that contribute to making Earth habitable, and it asks a rather uncomfortable question. Are we uniquely lucky? Now, before we dive in, let's be clear. The rare Earth hypothesis isn't about denying the possibility of any life existing elsewhere. It's not saying that bacteria or single-celled organisms are impossible to find on other planets or moons. What it does suggest is that the conditions required for a complex life, the kind that leads to multicellular organisms, intelligent beings, and ultimately civilizations, are so incredibly specific and rare that Earth might be the only place in our galaxy, or even the observable universe, where it exists. It's a bold claim, and one that's understandably controversial. After all, the universe is vast. Trillions of stars, each potentially with multiple planets orbiting them. Statistically, it feels almost arrogant to suggest that we're alone. But the rare Earth hypothesis doesn't rely on feeling. It relies on a series of observations and scientific arguments. The core idea is that a confluence of extremely fortunate circumstances all came together on Earth, creating a perfect storm of habitability. If even one of these factors were significantly different, complex life as we know it might never have arisen. So, what are these crucial factors? Well, let's start with our location in the Milky Way galaxy. We're situated in a relatively quiet region far from the galactic center, which is a chaotic and dangerous place teeming with radiation, supernova, and black holes. This galactic habitable zone, as it's sometimes called, provides a safe haven from these cosmic hazards, allowing life to develop without being constantly bombarded by sterilizing radiation. If we were closer to the galactic center, the odds of complex life arising would be dramatically reduced. Then there's our star, the Sun. It's a Goldilocks star, just the right size and temperature to provide stable and consistent energy for billions of years. It's a G-type main sequence star, a yellow dwarf, and it's remarkably stable compared to many other stars in the galaxy. Many stars are variable, meaning their energy output fluctuates wildly, which would make it difficult for life to gain a foothold. Our Sun's stability has been crucial for allowing life to evolve gradually and steadily over billions of years. Also, its metallicity, the abundance of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium, is just right for the formation of terrestrial planets. Now, let's consider our planet itself. Earth is a terrestrial planet, meaning it's rocky and solid, unlike the gas giants like Jupiter or Saturn. This is essential for complex life, as it provides a stable surface on which life can evolve and develop. We have a molten iron core, which generates a magnetic field that shields us from harmful solar wind and cosmic radiation. Without this magnetic field, our atmosphere would be slowly stripped away, leaving the planet barren and lifeless. And speaking of the atmosphere, Earth's atmosphere is a complex and delicate balance of gases that provides us with breathable air, protects us from harmful ultraviolet radiation, and helps to regulate our planet's temperature. The presence of ozone in the upper atmosphere is particularly important, as it absorbs the majority of the sun's harmful UV rays. The oxygen levels in our atmosphere are also crucial, supporting the metabolism of complex life forms. But it's not just about having an atmosphere. It's about having the right kind of atmosphere, and that brings us to plate tectonics. The movement of Earth's tectonic plates is essential for regulating our planet's climate and maintaining the carbon cycle. Dioxide, preventing the planet from either overheating like Venus or freezing over like a snowball. It also helps to maintain a stable continental landmass, which is important for the development of terrestrial life. It drives volcanism, which replenishes the atmosphere with essential elements and gases. And then there's water. Liquid water is essential for life as we know it, and Earth has abundant liquid water on its surface. But the presence of liquid water isn't just about having the right temperature. It's also about having the right amount of water. Too much water, and the planet might be covered in a global ocean, which could limit the development of terrestrial life. Too little water, and the planet might be a dry and arid desert, which would also be challenging for life. Earth has just the right amount of water to support a diverse range of ecosystems. We also have a large moon, which stabilizes Earth's axial tilt. Without the moon, Earth's axis would wobble wildly, causing dramatic climate swings that could make it difficult for life to adapt. The moon also causes tides, which may have played a role in the origin of life by creating intertidal zones where organic molecules could concentrate and interact. And then there's the role of chance. The asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, for example, was a catastrophic event, but it also cleared the way for mammals to evolve and eventually give rise to humans. If that impact hadn't happened, the history of life on Earth might have been very different. Similarly, the Cambrian explosion, a period of rapid diversification of life that occurred around 540 million years ago, may have been triggered by a chance event that suddenly increased the availability of oxygen in the oceans. All of these factors, and many more, have come together in a unique and fortunate way on Earth, creating a planet that is exceptionally well suited for complex life. The rare Earth hypothesis argues that the probability of all of these factors aligning on another planet is so low that Earth may be a true anomaly. Now, this doesn't mean that we should give up the search for extraterrestrial life. Far from it. But it does mean that we should be realistic about the challenges involved, and that we should appreciate just how special and unique our own planet is. The rare Earth hypothesis is a reminder that we are incredibly fortunate to be here, and that we have a responsibility to protect and preserve this precious planet, the only home we know. It compels us to think long and hard about the immense luck of it all, and consider that, perhaps, we are indeed incredibly rare. It urges us to contemplate the potential implications of being, if not alone, then exceedingly lonely in the cosmos. Panspermia. It's a word that sounds straight out of a science fiction novel. But it's a scientific hypothesis that proposes a truly mind-blowing idea that life on Earth didn't actually originate here, but rather came from elsewhere in the universe. That's right. We could all be the descendants of space travelers. The core concept of panspermia is that the seeds of life, in some form, exist throughout the universe and can be transported from one location to another. These seeds could be simple organic molecules, or perhaps even microorganisms capable of surviving the harsh conditions of space. Now, before you imagine little green men hitchhiking on asteroids, let's clarify what we're talking about. Panspermia isn't necessarily about fully formed alien civilizations spreading across the cosmos. It's more about the fundamental building blocks of life, or even very simple life forms, finding their way to a habitable environment. Think of it like dandelion seeds carried by the wind. Except on a cosmic scale. There are several variations of the panspermia theory. One is called lithopanspermia, which focuses on the transport of life through space via rocks, especially meteorites and asteroids. The idea is that a large impact event on a planet could eject rocks into space, some of which might contain microorganisms within them. These rocks could then travel through space for millions of years, eventually landing on another planet. If that planet has conditions suitable for life, the microorganisms could then emerge and begin to proliferate. Another variation is ballistic panspermia, which suggests that life could be transferred between planets within the same solar system through similar ejection mechanisms. This is particularly relevant for our own solar system, where Mars and Earth have exchanged a significant amount of material over billions of years. Then there's directed panspermia, which is a more controversial and speculative idea. It suggests that life could have been intentionally spread by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization, perhaps as a form of terraforming or seeding other planets. While this is certainly an intriguing concept, there is currently no scientific evidence to support it. So, what evidence supports the idea of panspermia? Well, the evidence is largely circumstantial, but it's compelling nonetheless. For one thing, we know that organic molecules, the building blocks of life, are widespread throughout the universe. They've been detected in meteorites, comets, and even interstellar dust clouds. One famous example is the Murchison meteorite, which fell in Australia in 1969. It was found to contain a variety of amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, as well as other organic compounds like nucleobases, which are the components of DNA and RNA. This discovery showed that the raw materials for life can form naturally in space and be delivered to planets via meteorites. Another piece of evidence comes from the resilience of certain microorganisms. Scientists have discovered bacteria and other extremophiles that can survive incredibly harsh conditions, including extreme temperatures, radiation, and pressure. Some bacteria have even been revived after being frozen for millions of years in permafrost. Experiments have also shown that some microorganisms can survive exposure to the vacuum of space for extended periods of time. For example, scientists have sent bacteria and spores to the International Space Station and exposed them to the harsh environment of outer space. Surprisingly, some of them survived, demonstrating that life can indeed withstand the rigors of space travel. Furthermore, studies of meteorites have shown that they can protect microorganisms from radiation damage during space travel. The outer layers of a meteorite can act as a shield, absorbing much of the harmful radiation and allowing the microorganisms within to survive. Now, it's important to acknowledge the challenges of panspermia. The journey through space is incredibly harsh, and there are many obstacles that life would need to overcome. These include exposure to extreme temperatures, vacuum, radiation, and the lack of resources. Another challenge is the entry into a new planetary atmosphere. The intense heat generated during atmospheric entry could incinerate any microorganisms on the surface of a meteorite. However, studies have shown that the interior of a meteorite can remain relatively cool during atmospheric entry, potentially protecting microorganisms within. Despite these challenges, the possibility of panspermia remains a viable scientific hypothesis. It offers a potential explanation for the origin of life on Earth and suggests that life may be more widespread in the universe than we previously thought. If panspermia is true, it would have profound implications for our understanding of life and our place in the cosmos. It would mean that life isn't necessarily a unique phenomenon that arose solely on Earth, but rather a more universal process that can occur wherever conditions are suitable. It could also mean that we are all interconnected, that life on Earth is related to life on other planets. This would fundamentally change our perspective on biology and evolution, suggesting that life is not confined to individual planets, but can spread and evolve across the galaxy. Of course, even if panspermia is true, it doesn't necessarily answer the ultimate question of how life originated in the first place. It simply pushes the origin of life back further in time and perhaps to a different location. We would still need to understand how life arose from non-living matter, whether on Earth or elsewhere. However, panspermia could provide a larger time frame and a wider range of environments for the origin of life to occur. Perhaps life originated in a more hospitable environment on another planet, or even in a more protected environment within a comet or asteroid. Regardless of its challenges and uncertainties, panspermia is a fascinating and important scientific hypothesis. It challenges our assumptions about the origin and distribution of life and encourages us to think more broadly about the possibilities for life beyond Earth. It reminds us that the universe is a vast and interconnected place, and that life may be more resilient and adaptable than we ever imagined. All right. Let's talk about the truly mind-bending part of all this. What happens if, or perhaps when, we encounter life beyond Earth? First contact isn't just the stuff of science fiction films anymore. As our ability to detect and analyze exoplanets grows, the likelihood of finding evidence of extraterrestrial life increases, making it crucial to consider the potential scenarios and their implications now. When we talk about first contact, we need to acknowledge that it could take many forms. It might not be a fleet of spaceships arriving in Earth's orbit. It could be the detection of a radio signal, the discovery of a biosignature in an exoplanet's atmosphere, or even the retrieval of a microbial sample from a distant world. The nature of the contact will heavily influence our response. Let's start with the optimistic view. The positive outcome. Imagine we receive a clear, decipherable message from another civilization. A message containing scientific knowledge, philosophical insights, perhaps even artistic expressions. This scenario could be a catalyst for unprecedented progress on Earth. We could learn about advanced technologies, solve global challenges like climate change or disease, and gain a deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it. It could spark a new era of cooperation and collaboration, uniting humanity in a shared quest for knowledge and understanding, but even a seemingly benevolent contact carries potential risks. What if the knowledge we receive is too advanced for us to handle responsibly? What if it disrupts our social structures, our economies, or our belief systems? The introduction of new technologies, even with good intentions, can have unintended consequences. Think about the impact of the Internet on our society. While it has brought immense benefits, it has also created new challenges like misinformation, privacy concerns, and social polarization. Now, let's consider a more neutral scenario. We discover microbial life on another planet, perhaps on Europa or Enceladus. This wouldn't be a sentient civilization, but it would still be a monumental discovery. It would confirm that life can arise independently elsewhere in the universe, fundamentally changing our understanding of biology and our place in the cosmos. The scientific community would be galvanized, leading to a surge in funding and research in astrobiology and related fields. However, it might not have a profound, immediate impact on the general public. it would be a scientific revolution, but not necessarily a societal one. Then there's the darker side, the negative outcome. This is the scenario that often dominates science fiction, and while it's important not to sensationalize it, we can't ignore the possibility. What if we encounter a civilization that is hostile or indifferent to our existence? A civilization that sees Earth as a resource to be exploited or a threat to be eliminated. The consequences could be catastrophic, even if the extraterrestrial civilization isn't actively hostile. A contact could still be detrimental. Think of the zoo hypothesis, which suggests that advanced civilizations might be observing us from a distance, like animals in a zoo. If they choose to intervene in our development, even with seemingly good intentions, it could have unintended and harmful consequences, stifling our own progress and autonomy. One of the most pressing challenges in preparing for first contact is the question of who speaks for Earth. Who decides how we respond to an extraterrestrial message? Who negotiates with an alien civilization? Currently, there is no single, globally recognized authority with a mandate to represent humanity in such a situation. International organizations like the United Nations could potentially play a role, but their current structures and protocols may not be adequate for dealing with a first contact scenario. This raises significant ethical questions. Should we actively seek out contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, or should we remain silent and hope that they don't find us? The active SETI debate highlights this dilemma. Proponents argue that reaching out is essential for expanding our knowledge and potentially benefiting from advanced civilizations. Opponents argue that it could expose us to unknown risks, and that we should prioritize our own safety. Another ethical consideration is the potential impact on indigenous cultures. If we discover life on another planet, how do we ensure that our exploration and interaction don't harm or disrupt any existing ecosystems or potential indigenous life forms, even microbial ones? We need to develop ethical guidelines for planetary protection and exoplanetary exploration to minimize the risk of unintended consequences. The legal implications of first contact are also complex. Who owns the information we receive from an extraterrestrial civilization? Can we patent new technologies based on alien knowledge? What are the legal obligations of a nation that makes first contact? These are questions that international law needs to address. Preparing for first contact is not just a scientific or technological challenge. It's a philosophical and societal one. It requires us to confront our own biases, assumptions, and limitations. It forces us to consider our place in the universe and our responsibilities to other potential life forms. Perhaps the most important thing we can do is to foster a global dialogue about the implications of first contact. We need to educate the public, engage policymakers, and encourage scientists and philosophers to work together to develop a comprehensive framework for responding to this unprecedented event. We need to be prepared for the unknown, both the potential rewards and the potential risks, because, ultimately, the discovery of extraterrestrial life would be a defining moment in human history. It would challenge our understanding of everything we thought we knew about the universe and our place within it. And while we can't predict the future with certainty, we can prepare ourselves for the possibilities, ensuring that we respond to this profound event with wisdom, responsibility, and a deep respect for all life, wherever it may be found. The future may hold profound changes to our social structures, economies, and even belief systems. The key is preparing for that change as much as possible. Okay, buckle up, because we're about to dive into what might be the most mind-bending aspect of discovering extraterrestrial life, how it could fundamentally change us. This isn't just about science, it's about society, religion, philosophy, everything. It's about confronting the ultimate what-if scenario. Imagine the day the news breaks. It's not just a radio signal, not just a blurry photo. It's irrefutable proof we are not alone. The ramifications would be seismic, shaking the foundations of our world in ways we can only begin to comprehend. Let's start with the societal impact. The immediate aftermath would likely be a mix of excitement, awe, and, let's be honest, a healthy dose of panic. Governments would scramble to establish protocols. Scientists would race to understand. And the media would be in overdrive, dissecting every detail for a global audience hungry for information. The initial euphoria might quickly give way to more complex emotions. Questions of national security would inevitably arise. Are these aliens friendly? Do they pose a threat? The military would likely be involved, not necessarily as an act of aggression, but as a precautionary measure to assess potential risks. International cooperation, while ideally paramount, might be strained by competing national interests and anxieties. Economically, the impact could be massive. New industries could spring up overnight, focused on interstellar communication, advanced materials, and space exploration. Existing industries could be disrupted as new technologies and scientific breakthroughs challenge conventional practices. Imagine the scramble for resources, both intellectual and material, as humanity collectively seeks to understand and potentially interact with this new reality. Culturally, the changes could be even more profound. Our art, music, literature, and film would undoubtedly be transformed, reflecting our newfound understanding of our place in the cosmos. The themes of isolation, existential angst, and the search for meaning, which have long permeated our culture, might take on new dimensions or even fade away entirely, replaced by a sense of cosmic interconnectedness. But perhaps the most significant impact would be on our religions. For centuries, many faiths have centered on the idea of humanity's unique position in the universe as beings created in the image of a divine power. The discovery of alien life would challenge these deeply held beliefs, forcing religious institutions to grapple with profound theological questions. How do we reconcile the existence of other intelligent species with our understanding of creation? Do they also have souls? Are they subject to the same moral laws? Some religions might adapt and reinterpret their doctrines to accommodate the new reality, while others might face existential crises, struggling to maintain their relevance in a universe teeming with life. It's not necessarily a death knell for religion. In fact, some theologians might argue that the discovery of alien life actually strengthens their faith, demonstrating the boundless creativity and power of a divine being. The key will be adaptability and a willingness to engage in open dialogue and reinterpretation. And then there are the philosophical implications. For millennia, philosophers have grappled with fundamental questions about the nature of existence, consciousness, and the meaning of life. The discovery of extraterrestrial life would throw these questions into sharp relief, forcing us to reevaluate our place in the grand scheme of things. Are we truly unique, or are we just one of countless civilizations scattered across the cosmos? What is the purpose of life, not just on Earth, but throughout the universe? Does the existence of other intelligent species challenge our anthropocentric view of the world, forcing us to recognize our own insignificance? The answers to these questions are not easy, and they would likely spark intense debates and discussions across all disciplines. But grappling with these fundamental issues could ultimately lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our world, and our place in the universe. Consider the ethical dilemmas. If we make contact with an alien civilization, what are our responsibilities? Do we have the right to interfere with their development? Should we share our knowledge and technology, even if it could potentially harm them? How do we ensure that any interaction is mutually beneficial and respectful? These are not hypothetical questions. They are real ethical challenges that we need to address now, before we actually encounter alien life. The development of international protocols and ethical guidelines would be crucial to ensure that any future contact is conducted in a responsible and thoughtful manner. The impact on our understanding of science itself would be revolutionary. The discovery of alien life would provide a wealth of new data and insights, challenging our current theories and opening up new avenues of research. Imagine the breakthroughs in biology, chemistry, physics, and astronomy that could result from studying extraterrestrial organisms and their environments. We might discover entirely new forms of life based on different biochemistries or operating under different physical laws. We might learn about advanced technologies and scientific principles that are far beyond our current comprehension. The potential for scientific progress is virtually limitless. However, it's not all rosy. There are potential downsides to consider. The discovery of alien life could also lead to increased social divisions and inequalities. Those with access to the latest information and technologies might benefit disproportionately, while others could be left behind. The spread of misinformation and conspiracy theories could also pose a challenge, as people struggle to make sense of a complex and rapidly changing world. It would be crucial to promote scientific literacy and critical thinking skills to help people navigate the information landscape and make informed decisions. Ultimately, the societal impact of discovering alien life would depend on how we choose to respond. If we approach the situation with open minds, a spirit of cooperation, and a commitment to ethical principles, the experience could be transformative, leading to a new era of scientific discovery, cultural enrichment, and philosophical understanding. But if we succumb to fear, division, and self-interest, the outcome could be far less positive. The key is to prepare ourselves now, to anticipate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, and to develop the tools and strategies we need to navigate this uncharted territory. The search for extraterrestrial life is not just about finding aliens, it's about finding ourselves. It's about confronting our deepest fears and our greatest hopes. It's about redefining what it means to be human in a universe that is far more vast and complex than we ever imagined. And it is a question we must be prepared to answer, because the universe doesn't care if we are ready. The universe unfolds regardless. So, where does all of this leave us? After countless missions, discoveries, and theoretical musings, the question remains, are we alone? The honest answer is, we don't know. But what we do know is that the universe is far more teeming with potential than we ever imagined. Just a few decades ago, astrobiology, the field dedicated to the search for life beyond Earth, has exploded in recent years, fueled by groundbreaking discoveries of exoplanets, advances in our understanding of extremophiles, and the relentless drive of scientific curiosity. We are now in a golden age of exploration. We've explored Mars with ever-increasing sophistication, uncovering evidence of past water and potentially habitable environments. Rovers like Perseverance, are actively searching for signs of ancient microbial life, painstakingly analyzing Martian rocks for biosignatures, chemical or physical traces that could indicate the presence of life. The data we gather continues to paint a richer picture of our rusty red neighbor and its potential for once having harbored life. We've peered into the subsurface oceans of Europa and Enceladus, finding evidence of hydrothermal activity and complex organic molecules. These ocean worlds, shielded from the harsh radiation of space by thick layers of ice, may provide stable and protected environments where life could potentially thrive. Future missions are being planned to directly sample these oceans, hopefully providing definitive answers. And we've discovered thousands upon thousands of exoplanets, planets orbiting stars other than our Sun. Many of these exoplanets reside within the habitable zones of their stars, where temperatures could allow for liquid water to exist on their surfaces. Telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope are now capable of analyzing the atmospheres of some of these exoplanets, searching for biosignatures that could betray the presence of life. This is not just a search for little green men. This is a search for any form of life, no matter how simple or complex. It's a search for evidence that life is not unique to Earth, but a fundamental process that can arise wherever the conditions are right. Think about it. For centuries, we believed that Earth was the center of the universe. Then we discovered that we were just one planet orbiting an ordinary star in a vast galaxy. Now, we are beginning to realize that our galaxy is just one of billions, perhaps trillions, of galaxies in an ever-expanding universe. To believe that life is unique to Earth, given this vastness, seems, well, statistically improbable. It would be like winning the lottery every single day of your life. So, what does the future hold for astrobiology? I believe it's a future filled with incredible discoveries and groundbreaking advancements. We will continue to explore our solar system with robotic missions, venturing to previously unexplored worlds and delving deeper into the mysteries of those we already know. We will refine our search strategies, focusing on the most promising targets and developing new technologies to detect biosignatures. Future missions to Europa and Enceladus may involve melting through the ice shells and deploying robotic submarines to explore their subsurface oceans. These submarines could search for hydrothermal vents, sample the water for organic molecules, and potentially even discover living organisms. On Mars, we will continue to search for evidence of past life, drilling deeper into the Martian surface and analyzing samples with increasing precision. Future missions may even involve bringing Martian samples back to Earth for detailed analysis in state-of-the-art laboratories and beyond our solar system. We will continue to scan the skies for exoplanets, refining our techniques for detecting and characterizing these distant worlds. The next generation of telescopes will be even more powerful, allowing us to probe the atmospheres of exoplanets with unprecedented detail. We might even be able to create rudimentary maps of exoplanet surfaces, identifying oceans, continents, and even vegetation. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI, will also continue, employing advanced algorithms and powerful telescopes to scan for artificial signals emanating from other civilizations. While we haven't yet detected any definitive signals, the search continues, fueled by the hope that we are not alone. But the future of astrobiology is not just about technology. It's also about collaboration. It requires the expertise of scientists from a wide range of disciplines, including astronomy, biology, chemistry, geology, and computer science. By working together, sharing data, and pooling our resources, we can accelerate the pace of discovery. And it's also about inspiring the next generation of scientists and explorers. By sharing our passion for astrobiology and communicating the excitement of discovery, we can encourage young people to pursue careers in science and engineering, ensuring that the search for life beyond Earth continues for generations to come. The discovery of extraterrestrial life, should it occur, would be one of the most profound events in human history. It would change our understanding of our place in the universe, challenge our assumptions about life and its origins, and have a profound impact on society, religion, and philosophy. It would also raise a host of ethical questions. How should we interact with extraterrestrial life? What are our responsibilities to protect other ecosystems? How do we ensure that first contact is conducted in a safe and responsible manner? These are questions that we need to start thinking about now before we make contact. We need to develop a framework for ethical decision-making that takes into account the potential consequences of our actions. But even if we never find evidence of extraterrestrial life, the search itself is valuable. It forces us to confront fundamental questions about our place in the universe, to push the boundaries of scientific knowledge, and to develop new technologies that benefit society as a whole. The search for life beyond Earth is a journey of exploration, a quest for knowledge, and a testament to the enduring human spirit of curiosity. It is a journey that may take us to distant worlds, to the depths of alien oceans, and ultimately to a deeper understanding of ourselves. So, let us continue the search with hope, with determination, and with the unwavering belief that the universe is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. The answers are out there, somewhere among the stars, and it is up to us to find them.